Why do founders have trouble selling themselves, selling what they do, pitching their startup, helping people following their own intuition and dropping the frameworks? Worry makes the work good. Worry makes the work good. You have a lot more control than you may have walked in thinking you have. Be yourself so that the people looking for you can find you.
For the last 20 something years, I've been helping, in fact, for the last 5 years, I've been helping people communicate in one way or another. If we could teach confidence, we'd be billionaires. If you had to write confidence as an equation, confidence equals what?
I don't think that we need to finish books, by the way. This is a common misconception. I think you got what you needed to get from the book. All the games that are worth playing are the games with no rules, with no outcome, with no winners and no losers.
For me, I'm a craftsman, and I like to share my craft and bring it to people which are really in need. And yeah, and this is why I'm here.
I think this call or this Zoom meeting, I think it would give me a good opportunity to, or maybe hopefully, to find my, or not find, but try, that I can try and communicate better what I want to sell in the future.
I certainly have some questions for you because I'm curious about the biology, the philosophy, and the graphic design. I want to see them all coming together.
I work on something for 2 or 3 years, and I have the feeling that I don't manage to talk about it. It doesn't help if you do things in a quiet space. You also need to talk about it. But then if you talk about it, then better talk in a way about it that people understand.
At the beginning of everything, it's like, how hard can it be? High confidence, no knowledge. And then as we start learning, like, oh, it's so hard. I'll never know anything about this.
The source of my confidence is actually vulnerability when I really understand and have nothing to lose.
Confidence equals technique plus bravery.
Like when we are in the act of service to somebody else, very rarely do we worry about our confidence. Actually, usually this is the moment where we show the highest level of confidence because we are selfless, because we are in a service of somebody else. At some point, you have to decide that you're enough, and that's enough. The problem with finding stuff inside is that this is exactly what we tend not to do right now in going really fast, having a lot of meetings, being on social media, etc. We tend not to stop and look at our internal resources. Courage with absolutely no technique at all also doesn't work. If I act like an elephant in a jewelry store,
A bull in a china shop.
what happens when you know a lot? Like, what what's the lack
Yeah,
of clarity that comes from knowing a lot? Because as experts, freelancers, founders, we know a lot.
I was even asked a few weeks ago, what can you give us that ChatGPT can't?
What I can give my clients that GPT can't is an answer coming from the heart, not from statistics.
I have no machine which can do what I can do. I have to debunk this because at the moment the technique is not there.
They won't have the sensitivity, they won't have the heart, they won't have the extra eye for that little detail that you would notice only in context.
You need to simplify as much your knowledge as not to lose the value that you bring, your perspective, but to create jointly something.
It all starts if you start seeing the other people. And it's not only that you have to simplify the concept, you have to simplify the language as well. And we have forgotten how to do that because we're so far away from that moment. Imagine the level of articulation as an elevator, okay? And I can catch you on the ground floor and I can take you to the rooftop bar.
They make the emotional connection long before they make the statistical one.
If you take all the emotion away, there's no content left. The way you build basically any story is at the beginning, you create some characters that people care about. And in this case, the characters of this story are basically already defined. Let's say they are the entrepreneur and the investor. Then you paint a picture of a vision where everybody wants to go, and then there must be an obstacle. Otherwise, the emotional investment happens if I don't reach the vision. We want to, it's cool, uncool, hot or not. It's very like or dislike, good flavor, bad flavor, good smell, bad smell. But then what you can do is that you can start using the elevator, and you can start to give these people some hints about something, some idea, without really completely explaining it. You're never talking down to your audience, you're talking up to you're getting them, you're assuming that they're better than even they think they are. What drives all of these waves forward is the story, anyway.
In a perfect world, you would like to connect to everyone, because you try to emphasize everyone, because then your playground or your customer base is bigger. So you have to swap a lot.
It's much better to disappoint being authentic than to try to trick and then, you know, get that bad outcome that we get in that case.
You cannot work something really big in 1 year, because only for 6 months, some people need to create one decision about if they will work with you or not.
What we're trying to say with the pitch is how to make an incredibly great first impression that builds, in most of the time in business, it's an overnight success, 15 years in the making. If you're in Italy, we're in Rome, we're having a meeting, it's Monday morning, it's 10 a.m. We have to get a coffee. It's part of work. It's not optional. We have to get a coffee. It's a very high context culture. And that is not wasted time. That is part of the job. Rather, you want to create an environment that doesn't cause headaches. And I think our job is to create those pieces of furniture, those encounters, those coffees, those meals, those situations that don't even cause the lack of engagement. I would try to continue optimizing for offline wherever possible. And then when we are all online, make them shorter if needed, make them longer if needed, make them about the people that are joining. If I gave you the same content that I gave recently at the conference, it wouldn't work somehow. It will work only partially.
It's efficient movement over obstacles in the street or in the urban or natural environment. So I was teaching kids from 8 to 12. I was teaching people in a university. Everyone in this age group or social group understands some certain words. And if you use those words a lot, they feel home. They feel understood, and they feel they can achieve something in this.
Discover your communication style was irresistible. It was like clicking, clicking, clicking. Like, even though, you know, maybe I didn't want clicks at that moment, but that was it. Once you realize the power of a frame, the power of a cue, the power of something, that it can become your mantra. It can become, and you can tailor it to the audience that you have. Discover your storytelling style. Discover your communication ability. Discover your communication style. Why do we need a lot of similitudes? Like, oh, it's like Airbnb, but for camper vans. Or why do we need metaphors? Like, I don't know, it would be like picking up the ocean with a teaspoon, because sometimes there is a concept that goes beyond what the concept we have right now, and we need a reference to latch on in order to get to the new concept. The audience is smarter, is always smarter than we think. Even the kids are smarter than we think. When you talk up to people, you really get you get an advantage that they feel empowered to think for themselves. I'm also using this new AI tool that creates the highlights, which is pretty fun. So you get a 10-minute trailer of this call, which is pretty nice. Thank you so much for another great call, great questions and great reflections. And it's as always, it's really the highlight of my month doing this.